In Tampa, Florida, nothing gets between Courtney Brantley and her lover, Dante Morris. Not even prison bars.
Those two were like the king and queen of East Tampa. People knew them everywhere they went.
But when Dante gets out, he does the unthinkable. And with Courtney by his side, the two become the most wanted people in Florida.
She was so blinded by love that she couldn't see that her man was a killer.
No excuse, no remorse, a killing machine.
And later, in central Indiana, Regina Miller is a single mother with her hands full.
She had multiple kids by multiple fathers, and she liked the bad boys.
So when a handsome young man comes into her life, she does whatever it takes to protect him, even if it means cleaning up his dirtiest mess.
When she came back home, he was there waiting with a dead body.
It was a recipe for disaster. He looks like the face of evil.
In Tampa, Florida, teenager Courtney Brantley is raised by a single mother in a chaotic household.
Courtney grew up in East Tampa. She had a rough upbringing, and she spent a lot of time with her grandmother, and they had a really tight and close relationship.
When you go to your grandmother's house, what happens? Get away with anything. And that's kind of where Courtney was.
By the time Courtney is in high school, she's struggling, both in school and in her personal life.
Even though she tried to stay focused on her studies, she got distracted with partying and drinking, and by the time she reached her junior year, she dropped out of school.
Courtney didn't have an easy childhood. This is a young lady who grew up in a very tough, difficult neighborhood. She tried to choose the right path, but it was really an uphill battle for her.
Now a high school dropout, Courtney spends her days surrounded by trouble.
She started hanging out with a really rough crowd in East Tampa. It was the kind of people you would never want your kid to be hanging out with.
She's in the projects, and she kind of found herself in the midst of just all of that chaos.
One day, she's hanging out with some friends when good-looking street-hard hustler Dante Morris steps up to the younger girl, full of swagger.
He started off like your typical young male, where he was this esteemed athlete. He also was a part of a rap group, and they cut a couple of tracks, which was pretty cool, so he was kind of known for that.
But spitting verses is more of a side project for Dante. It's the game in the streets that puts paper in his pocket.
Dante was very popular in East Tampa, but it was for all the wrong reasons.
He was the man in East Tampa and had a reputation in the community, so she was just enamored by that bad boy swagger.
And as she gets to know the dapper dealer, she learns he also has a tender side. In fact, thanks to their difficult childhoods, the two have a lot in common.
They would talk about things that they wouldn't necessarily be able to talk about with anyone else. And so they had a really balanced relationship.
Courtney saw someone that not everyone got a chance to see on a daily basis. She saw someone who actually opened up to her.
And while their relationship grows, the Tampa Kingpin's drug empire is also expanding.
He became more territorial and engaged and involved in turf wars, and Dante became more aggressive.
The dangerous dealer rules his crew with an iron fist. And along the way, police haul him in for a variety of offenses, from cocaine possession to manufacturing and distribution.
Sometimes Dante would be locked up for 24 hours. Other times, his length of time in jail would be from 4 to 6 months.
But while Dante is in and out of jail, Courtney starts to examine her own choices.
Dante's ever-growing rap sheet actually had a positive influence on Courtney. She started getting her life right, looked inside herself to see what she wanted to do better, went and got her GED, even started working.
Despite her best efforts to improve her life, for Courtney, her handsome hustler is not unlike the drugs he sells. She simply cannot stay away from him.
Courtney was hooked on Dante. She was not going to let him go. Even when he was in prison, she still cared for him and remained loyal to him.
Courtney really loved Dante, but deep down inside, she knew that this guy was really up to no good. But no matter what happened, no matter how illegal, no matter how bad, they were going to stick together. It's clear he had a hold on her.
One March morning, about 2 years into their rocky relationship, Dante is out in the streets when police cruisers come speeding around the corner and put the Kingpin in cuffs yet again. for a probation violation. And this time, the repeat offender will be going away for a while.
The more crimes you do, the more time you get. And so now we're not looking at 4 months, but we're looking at 27 months.
But Dante is not going away forever. And his next run-in with the law will put his loyal girl dead center of a horrific tragedy.
This crime led to the biggest manhunt in this city's history.
Why do you have a gun? Because I'm not going back to jail.
There were so many officers all trying to catch Dante Morris.
She screams Dante's name in rage.
She made the choice to love him until her last breath, and now she's paying for it.
In Tampa, Florida, 19-year-old Courtney Brantley is addicted to her drug dealer boyfriend, Dante Morris. No matter what he does, she always finds her way back into his arms. Except this time, she's going to have to wait. Her man is locked up for 27 months.
While Dante was incarcerated, Courtney focused herself, and she got 2 jobs and enrolled in community college.
But no matter how much Courtney works on herself, there's one thing that will never change: her devotion to Dante.
She continued to support him while he was behind bars. Whatever bond these two had, being in prison made it stronger.
After being locked up for more than 2 years, he's finally released. And they pick up right where they left off.
After Dante was released from prison, they spent every moment together. They were hot and heavy, and Courtney thought it would stay like that.
But the honeymoon doesn't last long.
He went right back to his old habits. He's back on the streets with his crew, doing the same things he was doing before he went into jail.
He had to reassert himself in the streets, and that became his #1 priority. And Courtney was not prepared for that.
Adding fuel to the fire, over the next few weeks, there's some disturbing talk around town.
So Courtney started to hear these rumors that were kind of navigating through East Tampa that Dante was connected to the murder of 3 individuals in the area.
Girl, who told you that?
And Courtney decided, you know, I'm gonna turn a blind eye.
But he's not a killer. He wouldn't do that. No.
Courtney really felt that Dante was the best thing in her life, and he felt the same way about her. So at this point, she was in complete denial about those murders, and the last thing she wanted to do was face the reality as to who this person really was.
But the lovesick girl won't be able to live in her fantasy world for long. Late one night at around 1 a.m., Dante is out drinking and partying at a club when he decides he's had enough and wants to go home.
Dante called Courtney to come pick him up, and being the loyal woman that she is, she got up and went to the club and picked up Dante.
They were on their way to Dante's house, and at some point during that trip, a police officer pulls up behind them, lights flashing.
Dante told Courtney not to pull over right away, so she drove about a half-mile more and then pulled over.
Officer David Curtis gets out of his vehicle, goes to the driver's side of the car, and was asking about the expired license tag on Courtney's car, and that's why they were being pulled over.
They talked for a few minutes about the tag, and eventually she gave him her driver's license and registration, and then after speaking to Courtney for a few moments, the officer turned his attention to Dante.
What's your name? Dante.
He asked Dante who he was, what his name was. Dante mumbled just a little bit in the beginning, and then the officer asked him again. He finally said, "My name is Dante Morris," and spelled it out for him.
The officer tells the couple to sit tight while he checks them out.
The entire time the officer is in his patrol car running all of the information, Dante continues to look in the rearview mirror to check behind him. He's getting even more panicked as the seconds go on, because in his mind, the police had figured out he was the one who had committed those murders, and now they're on to him.
Courtney's trying to massage him and calm him down and basically let him know everything's okay, just calm down, we'll get through this.
Moments later, a second officer, Jeffrey Kokab, arrives on the scene. And the already alarmed drug dealer comes completely unhinged.
He turns to Courtney and he says to her, I can't go back. I'm not going back. And it was at that moment Courtney noticed that Dante had a gun strapped to his waist. As soon as Courtney saw he was strapped, he pulled his shirt down to cover the gun.
Dante is like, it's going down. This is serious. I'm not going back to prison. That's not an option for me.
Officer Kokab and Officer Curtis started walking up to the passenger side where Dante was sitting.
Excuse me, sir. I'm gonna need you to step out of the vehicle.
And later, in central Indiana, when single mother Regina Miller sparks a romance with the much younger Terry Rutledge, she feels she has finally met the one.
When he saw Regina, he knew he had to have her.
But when Terry reveals a shocking truth, Regina will be thrown into the center of a horrific crime.
She was hysterical. She was upset.
And all hell was gonna break loose.
Despite Dante's fears that he had been found out, when the officers run his name, it isn't the murders that come up.
The patrol car computer showed a flag on Dante's name because he was wanted for writing 3 bad checks up in Jacksonville. In an unfortunate turn of events, it wasn't even the Dante Morris we're talking about who wrote those bad checks. It was another person, similar name, who they were actually looking for.
In the late night hours in Tampa, Florida, Courtney Brantley and her boyfriend Dante Morris are sweating it out in their vehicle while police run their information. Tensions are running high as Tampa's most notorious drug dealer thinks he's about to be hauled away on a murder rap.
Excuse me, sir. I'm gonna need you to step out of the car.
He got out, turned towards the officers.
Turn around, put your hands on the hood.
As he turned around, he pulled the gun out of his waistband and quickly shot both officers at point-blank range.
Courtney screams Dante's name in rage.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Dante ran into a field and didn't look back.
Courtney didn't know what to do, so she just pressed the accelerator and took off.
Moments later, Courtney's cell phone rings, and it's Dante. He wants to make sure she doesn't snitch.
No, I'm not gonna talk to the cops.
He tells her to head to a friend's apartment and to hide the car. Terrified, she does what she's told.
Courtney was in total and complete shock when she saw that Dante had murdered these officers point blank, but she was prepared to stand by him no matter what the consequences were. She would do anything to protect him.
Yes, I understand.
Have you ever heard of the term, snitches get stitches? Well, there's a reason for that. He didn't call her to find out if she was okay. He didn't call her to explain to her what had happened. He wanted to make sure that Courtney was not going to snitch.
Aware of what's at stake, the faithful girlfriend obeys. She drives to a friend's apartment 3 miles away from the shooting and stashes her car. She texts her man the moment it's done.
Courtney proved her loyalty by saying, "Till death do us part." It was a vow they had never taken in a church. It was a vow they had never taken for the state, but it was something that she was saying to him. She wanted Dante to know, I'm here forever, no matter what.
She was gonna do whatever she needed to do to make sure that her man was not going to be caught, even if it meant putting herself at risk.
The city of Tampa has been rocked to the core. As the entire force mourns its 2 fallen officers, investigators get to work. When they arrive on the scene, they find an overwhelming amount of evidence, including Courtney's license, the officer's notepad with Dante's full name, and a dashcam video that has a clear image of the 2 perps. Dante and Courtney are instantly the most wanted people in Florida.
The manhunt was like nothing Tampa had seen ever before. They had lost 2 of their own, and now there was a killer on the loose who did not care about human life.
10 hours after Officers Curtis and Kokab are shot in cold blood, police spot Courtney's red car in an apartment building parking lot. Police officers go door to door, searching for the killers. They are closing in on Courtney, who has been hiding out at her friend's apartment.
When they finally knocked on the door where Courtney was, she came to the door and she actually admitted that she was the person they were looking for and that she was at the scene of the murder. She was quite composed and cooperated with the law enforcement.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Courtney is hauled in for questioning. Detectives sweat her for over 6 hours. But Courtney can't be swayed. She made a vow to Dante and is staying loyal.
Who was with you? I do not know.
During the entire questioning process, Courtney refused to turn on Dante. She was asked more than 100 times to give up the name of the person she was with, and she wouldn't do it.
I'm not giving him up.
It's really difficult to try to understand what was going on in Courtney's mind throughout those hours and hours of being interrogated by the police. Courtney was a smart girl. She knew that the Tampa police were going to try to solve this case in any way they could, so she was just delaying them as much as possible, and if nothing else, trying to prove to her man how faithful she could really be.
Despite extreme pressure, Courtney never breaks. And while police are getting nowhere with the loyal girlfriend, her cop-killing boyfriend is still at large.
There were so many officers, authorities from different areas and different agencies all trying to catch Dante Morris. There was even a $100,000 reward being offered for anyone who could help with his capture.
The police knew that this man was a street man. He was a drug dealer. So they took to the street to find him. And there was one dealer who was more than happy to talk. And he told them exactly where they can find Dante Morris.
Dante was located at his lawyer's office and finally arrested after 4 days being on the run.
He's charged with the murder of both officers. And his gun is also linked to 2 of the other murders that Courtney had written off as mere rumor.
And with that, they were able to connect Dante to those other murders.
He is convicted in each of those cases and is given multiple death sentences. And Courtney faces a rarely used offense.
Courtney was charged with misprison of a felony, something a lot of people don't hear about often, but basically that means she failed to report knowing about a felony that took place.
Courtney manages to spend the next 5 years out of prison fighting her case, and in the process becomes a local sensation.
She became this popular media girl who was seen as, fighting her case and kind of going back and forth with the court systems. But eventually she ended up being charged and sentenced to 1 year and 1 day.
He was a selfish man. If he really cared about Courtney, do you think that he would have put her in that sort of situation?
She loved him, but he loved the streets way more than he loved her.
Courtney proved to her man that she stayed faithful till the bitter end. But really, what did she get out of it? She went from visiting her man in jail to actually now being incarcerated in jail. Hopefully, when Courtney's released, she'll be able to move in a positive direction once and for all.
Courtney Brantley did everything in her power to protect her man right up to the bitter end. But in Indiana, how far is Regina Miller willing to go to clean up her new boyfriend's mess? In the small town of Muncie, Indiana, 36-year-old Regina Miller is doing all she can just to get by.
Regina was a single mother. She worked off and on for various stretches of time to provide for her and her family.
These days, she's on her feet for 10-hour shifts at the local diner.
It was stressful trying to make ends meet with her children and just having a waitressing job. She was living day to day, trying to afford her bills and try to take care of the kids.
And the young mother has a lot of mouths to feed.
She had multiple kids, although she wasn't very old. Because she started having kids so young, she had kids from elementary all the way up until the kids that were in the 20s.
Her 20-year-old son does his best to help out with the younger ones while she's at work. But for the most part, Regina is on her own.
Her house was pretty much in disarray, mattresses on the floor for the kids, food, and a lot of dirty dishes. They had very little.
Regina has never had a consistent man in her life.
She would meet a guy, she would fall in love, and then she would get pregnant. And those guys never really stuck around.
There are some women who perhaps have poor self-esteem. They feel that they don't deserve a really good man in their lives. We see that they look for the excitement in someone who has an edge, someone who can take them out of that humdrum existence that they have.
But the struggling mom is not ready to give up on love.
She still held out hope that one day she would find Mr. Right, and Mr. Right would not only accept her, but also accept all of her kids.
Life finally starts to look up for Regina when she lucks upon the perfect house to rent for her growing family. Not only is it bigger, but it's cheaper.
She finally found a place where all of her kids had a comfortable space, everybody could live in that house, and they loved that place.
The single mother is settling into her new digs when one day a young, handsome stranger comes into her life. Her new landlord's 24-year-old nephew, Terry Rutledge.
The landlord came over to Regina's house, and Terry came with him, and that's how they met.
She found him to be engaging and fun. He had a muscular type build. He was charming, a good time, fun to be with.
The attractive younger man appears to be full of swagger and charisma, but in reality, he's no saint with a lengthy rap sheet.
We were familiar with Terry Rutledge, and he had a record here in Muncie with domestic battery and theft.
Terry has recently been released from prison and has been crashing at his uncle's home. But his shady past doesn't bother the older woman, who is 12 years his senior.
Regina knew that Terry had been in prison, and she was obviously okay with that.
And Regina is just the ex-con's type.
He loved older women, and when he saw Regina, he knew he had to have her.
Regina most likely accepted Terry, one, because he was someone who can take her away from that very boring life, but the other part of that being that she was a loving mom, he had showed an interest in her children, and this, for her, was the complete package.
The couple have a clear chemistry, and it's not long before their sexual tension turns into a physical relationship. But within a few short weeks, the man who's stolen Regina's heart shows his true colors and destroys her life.
It was a recipe for disaster.
He was a user, a master manipulator, the personification of Jekyll and Hyde.
Single mother Regina Miller's life finally appears to be on track in Muncie, Indiana. She's in a new house, and she has a new boyfriend, a charming ex-con who's good with her kids, Terry Rutledge.
Normally, Regina would be hesitant to bring a guy around her kids, especially so soon. But something about Terry, he seemed to like her kids, seemed to have a good relationship with them.
One thing is clear, the young mom is head over heels for her rugged beau.
And the next thing you knew, Terry was there all the time. They were spending nights and days, and Terry was becoming a part of Regina's life.
But the bad boy is also a bit of a playboy. And he's not spending all his time with Regina. He's seeing other women on the slide.
Terry had been involved with what we would kind of look at or label as maybe vulnerable women.
Top on Terry's list is Tanya Ingram. And like Regina, she's a single mother of 3, but she's also a grandmother of 4.
While Regina thought she was having a nice home with the man she loved, not only was Terry hooking up and having sex with her, but he was also hooking up with the grandmother as well, and neither one knew about each other.
One chilly December morning, Regina sees her kids off to school. She kisses her love goodbye and heads out to run a few errands before work.
While Regina was away, Terry decided that he wanted to play.
Terry met up with Tanya. He accompanied Tanya while she was running several errands.
And I think by all appearances, it looked as though they were a couple and they were quite chummy that day.
Tired of shopping, Terry's ready to get Tanya alone. With the kids at school and Regina at work, he knows her house is empty. So he suggests they head over there.
Terry and Tanya didn't have a vehicle, so they rode the bus a couple different times that day to different places.
At some point, Terry talks Tanya into going to Regina's house. I don't know that Tanya knew that that was Regina's house, but there's no question that they ended up there in the early afternoon.
Terry decided they were gonna have sex before Regina got home.
And the hot and heavy lovers don't even make it to the bedroom. They get down to business right on the couch in Regina's living room.
He had the audacity to bring another woman into Regina's house. Who knows why Terry would do something so stupid, so disrespectful? Maybe he got a thrill from being able to manipulate the situation, or maybe subconsciously he wanted to get caught.
And just as things are getting interesting, Terry hears a car door slam.
At that point, Terry encourages Tanya to run down into the basement.
Unless you're going to have a threesome, you're going to have to hide one girlfriend from the other, particularly when you're using her house without her knowledge.
Hello? Terry?
Confused, Tanya does as she's told. She didn't think twice about whose house they were in initially, but it's now crystal clear they are not in Terry's house.
Tanya realized that she was actually at another woman's home, and she became upset.
She wants to know what's going on. She's not being quiet like he wants her to be.
Regina was supporting him. She was giving him a place to live. So he wanted to do everything he could to keep Tanya quiet so he could hide his secret. Because if Tanya met Regina, all hell was gonna break loose.
With Regina standing just a few feet above their heads, Terry runs out of patience.
Stop being so loud! Where you going?
He wrapped his arm around her throat and did what he thought he had to do to keep her mouth shut.
Tanya struggles as the large man overpowers her.
Terry was cold-blooded, calculated.
He looked like the face of evil.
In Muncie, Indiana, 36-year-old single mother Regina Miller returns to her house to get ready for work. She thinks she's home alone, but in the basement, her boyfriend Terry is desperately trying to keep his other girlfriend Tanya quiet.
He wrapped his arm around her throat, put her in a chokehold, and just kept squeezing.
While attempting to keep her quiet, he strangles Tanya with one arm and puts his free hand over her nose and mouth to silence her.
She's reaching up, trying to scratch his face to get him off of her.
Tanya was fighting for her life.
The two struggle for a few moments, but Tanya is no match for Terry's sheer force.
He had just killed Tanya. Her body is just laying there on the floor in the basement.
Meanwhile, Regina is upstairs changing into her work uniform and hears nothing.
She only entered the house for 1 or 2 minutes before she went to work.
The killer ex-con is now alone in the house with a serious situation on his hands.
He was essentially stuck at that house with a dead body and just was trying desperately to find a way to get himself out of there and possibly the body as well.
Regina works a hard day at the diner, and the single mom has no idea of the horrors that have unfolded in her basement. Before she heads home, her phone starts lighting up.
He texts Regina while she's at work and tells Regina, "I need your help, I need it fast." And they go from there.
When she asks why, Terry admits that he's done something bad. And without her, he's going to jail. And the texts keep coming.
One of the messages had to do with him wanting her to get a truck, and he also sent a message wanting to know how down she was with him.
Although Terry had killed Tanya all by himself, here he is texting Regina, basically bringing her into this, trying to get her to help him clean up his mess.
And the devoted girlfriend doesn't hesitate.
Once Terry asked her for help, she dove right in. After Regina left work, she got a red SUV from another friend of hers, and then she goes right back to her house. He asked, she helped.
When Regina arrives at her house, Terry has no choice but to show his woman what he's done.
But you got my back, right?
Once Regina got to the basement, she saw her man, Terry, standing over the lifeless body of this woman she didn't even know. At that point, Terry started singing this sad song to Regina, telling her that Tanya was trying to break them up and he was trying to keep things together. He laid it on real thick, and Regina believed him.
She was trying to break us up. okay? She came in here and she came on to me.
Terry felt that he had so much control over Regina and could get her to do absolutely anything, even getting her to clean up a crime scene after he had strangled this poor woman.
Instead of freaking out or calling the police, she focused in on what Terry said, and she wanted to do whatever she could to make him happy and to fix this situation.
Regina must have had a range of emotions. First and foremost, she was probably shocked by what she saw. Secondly, she felt betrayed that Terry would bring this woman into her home, have sex with her, and now she was complicit in this horrific crime.
With her children due back from school at any moment, Regina knew she had to act, and act fast.
She knew she had to deal with the dead body that was in the basement, so she called her son's girlfriend over to babysit the kids while her and Terry figured out their next move.
In need of help and a plan, Regina and her killer boyfriend head out to do some scheming at the one place where they do their best thinking.
They thought going out to bars would help them find out if any of their friends or family were out, and then that they could, obtain some help.
Right away, the couple finds someone they can trust.
They run into a relative of Terry's, a man named Antoine. Terry decides that he's going to let Antoine in on the fact that he needs help.
Antoine agrees, but the couple keep him in the dark about what exactly he's signing up for.
It wasn't until they arrived back at Regina's house and ended up back down in the basement that Antoine learned that what he was going to be helping with was the removal of a body.
Terry was a hardcore criminal. He had street cred. So we don't know if Antoine maybe felt that if he didn't go along with the plan, he was going to be hurt, or if he was just trying to help his friends deal with this situation that they were now in.
With Terry barking out orders, the cleanup crew gets busy. Regina is all too willing to do whatever she can to help her man clean up his mess.
Once they got into the basement, Regina, instead of backing out, she went to Tanya's body and started clipping her nails.
They cut the fingernails off the victim so that DNA couldn't be found underneath her nails.
They had stripped Tanya's body. They collected those clothes and clothes that had been worn by Terry at some point in time with his contact with Tanya, and placed those all in a plastic grocery bag.
With the cleanup complete, there's the tough task of getting the body out of the basement.
At that point in time, Regina retrieves a shower curtain from the bathroom upstairs and brings it down to the basement.
They then wrapped her in the shower curtain and attempted to carry her body up that stairs, through the kitchen, out the back door.
Terry and Regina loaded Tanya up inside the SUV. Now, at this point, Antoine must have been freaked out by it all and said, "I've had enough, I'm out."
Antoine leaves the couple to handle the rest. They drive off into the darkness.
Regina helped Terry try to clean up this crime scene because she was really devoted to him. She would do anything, even becoming part of a murder scene.
In the early morning hours, they drive around town, looking for a remote place to dump the body. But they're running out of time.
They had been working through the night, so the sun was about to come out. And the last thing they wanted to do was be caught in a car in the daylight with a body inside. So they panicked.
They pull over and simply dump the body on the side of the road. Then, she watches as Terry douses his victim in gasoline.
And then he just set her on fire.
With the cleanup now complete, they take off. But it's not long before motorists come across the chilling scene.
Eventually, people start to notice something is on fire alongside the road. One of those individuals finally calls 911.
Delaware County 911.
Yeah, there is a person burning. She's dead, she's laying there, she's on fire.
You could still smell the burnt flesh and hair. The smell of death was in the air.
As a waitress, it's a constant struggle to make ends meet. So on the side, Regina might have done some shady deals to pay the bills.
One of the things that she had done for extra income around that period of time was selling opiates or pain medication. We found evidence that she took part in obtaining and selling prescription pills.
In the early morning hours, motorists driving through an intersection in Muncie, Indiana, notice something burning along the highway and call 911.
There is a person burning. At least it looks like a person.
Police respond to the multiple calls, and when they arrive at the intersection, they find a grisly scene.
Tanya's body was actually wrapped up in a shower curtain, and that's how she was disposed of, and that's how she was set afire. When the police first were called, her body was burning. The police actually had to use a fire extinguisher to put out the fire.
In a city the size of Muncie, you have crimes that happen, but there was never a murder this brutal where a woman was killed, her body dumped on side of the road and then set on fire.
After helping him clean his mess the night before, Regina drops Terry off at his uncle's and returns home. Later that morning, she sits in her house alone, and the severity of the situation sinks in.
After Regina realized what she had done, she decided to take action.
Regina decides that she's actually going to go to the police and tell them that she had been forced to help Terry move this body.
So she called up her babysitter, and she had the babysitter come and get her kids and get them out of the house. Regina actually, still wearing the bloody clothes from the night before, walked to the police station. By the time she got there, she was sweating. She was a nervous wreck.
Police question her, and Regina wastes no time in giving up her boyfriend to police. She might have been down during the cleanup, but now her devotion to her man is all but done.
He said, look, you gotta swear to God you will not flip out on me if I tell you this. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, there's a body in your basement we gotta get rid of.
At that point, she doesn't care what happens to Terry. As long as he doesn't drag her down with him, it's all right with her. She just wants to save her own skin.
Okay.
I'm tired.
I know. Yeah, I am too. So, let's go back. You go to help. What goes on from there?
Just continue trying to drag her up the stairs.
Regina went to the cops because she just wanted to beat Terry to the punch. And I think this speaks to the fact that he no longer had that power over her that he once did. The spell was broken.
And the longer investigators question her, the more frantic she becomes.
I don't know who she is. I don't know where she came from. I don't know why she's there. I didn't know what to do. I was scared.
She was hysterical, she was upset, and she was portraying to us that she was a victim of this.
That afternoon, police hunt all around Muncie, looking for Terry Rutledge.
They began searching the area around where Regina lived. They spot a vehicle that's actually being driven by his uncle, and he's riding in the passenger seat. As the officers are approaching the car, Terry exits the car and takes off running, and they have to tackle him and restrain him at that point.
When Terry is brought in for questioning, he has no concern for Regina. The ex-con has one thing on his mind: stay out of prison.
Terry's version of events changed multiple times. It was hard to follow along with the information he was giving us.
That's not even my house, that's her house. So I had nothing to do with that.
In one of the statements Terry gave to police, he actually blamed Regina for killing Tanya.
There's just one problem. Regina, who is in the next room over, can hear every word of Terry's lies.
I came to see what it was, and she already had the body down there. I don't know nothing about that.
In our office, we have very thin walls, and it's a problem that's been tried to be rectified for quite some time.
She's furious at Terry's attempts to pin the entire thing on her.
Terry was giving the police one statement. Regina was giving the police another statement. They weren't coinciding whatsoever, so we just decided to put them face to face with each other.
When Regina arrives at Terry's interview room, they get much more than they bargained for.
She was yelling at him, she was cussing, she was screaming, she was crying.
I'm dead serious. You're gonna do my kids like this for real? Tell me what day this happened on, because I sure the hell wasn't with you. Not up like that. No, thank you.
Pretty clear that the love affair was over and that Regina was going to take care of her butt and didn't care what happened to Terry.
Once cooler heads prevail, Regina tells the officers there's someone that can back her side of the story. The man that assisted in the cleanup, Antoine Warren.
She told them about Antoine and how he was involved in all this. Police brought him in for questioning. Antoine didn't hesitate to tell police everything.
Antoine's version of events lines up with Regina's, and police finally believe they have the full story. They arrest both Terry Rutledge and Regina Miller for the murder of Tanya Ingram. In exchange for his cooperation, Antoine is given a plea deal and is given 2 years in prison and 2 years on probation. Terry Rutledge is found guilty on all charges. He is sentenced to 62 years on the murder conviction and 3 years for obstruction of justice. Regina is found guilty on charges of assisting a criminal and obstruction of justice. She is sentenced to 6 years plus an additional 18 months for both charges.
Regina's biggest mistake was being involved with Terry Rutledge in the first place.
This was a story about a woman who would do anything for love, and in the end, love caused her world to come crashing down.
Obviously, Regina wasn't perfect. This was a woman who had very poor self-esteem and therefore made a lot of wrong decisions. That poor self-confidence landed her in the arms of Terry. And in the end, it was this love that led her to her downfall.
After being diagnosed with a rare medical condition, Chicagoan Tiffany Jacobs is looking for a man to help her feel normal.
Tiffany just wanted to put the pieces of her life back together again.
But her dreams of romance are shattered when she falls in love with a man who drives her to do the unthinkable.
Floyd had a mind of his own where anything could set him off.
Gotta go!
Tiffany was opening herself up to a whole world of trouble.
And later, in Spokane, Washington, from the time she was a child, Jackie Wortham's defiant nature has caused turmoil amongst her small family.
Anything under the sun that you can name, Jackie did it.
And when she joins hands with a lover who adds fuel to her fire, it scorches a malevolent path of domestic destruction.
Evan was her cheerleader in the worst way.
I don't think Jackie had any second thoughts or concern about what they had done.
Brought up by a hard-working mother on the streets of Chicago, Illinois, 16-year-old Tiffany Jacobs is mature beyond her years.
And her mom was trying to make ends meet, and so therefore, Tiffany was left to fend for herself an awful lot of the times, especially in the evenings.
Although she has the freedom to do whatever she pleases, the strong-willed sophomore manages to stay out of trouble.
Most kids who were in a situation where they're left at home a lot, go to find something to get their minds off of being alone. But in Tiffany's case, he focused on school.
She stayed away from drugs, she stayed away from alcohol, she stayed away from peer pressure. She was pretty much a straight A kind of student.
Despite her sterling academic record, the teen opts to forego college following commencement and enter the job force.
She worked for a bill collecting agency, and she did pretty well there, and she was very well liked by her coworkers.
When a child is left to grow up on their own, they can develop incredibly fast and become a very functioning part of society. But on the flip side, if they don't have the proper influences, they may be at risk to engage in really bad behaviors.
Over the next 4 years, life couldn't be more fulfilling for the now 22-year-old.
She worked hard and she was able to save some money, so much so that she got her own place. In fact, right underneath her mother, who it seems that she had a very good relationship with.
When we can finally get out from under our parents, the tendency is to feel a lot of freedom, to feel that self-empowerment, and therefore to be able to connect with other people, and certainly with people of the opposite sex.
All of Tiffany's hard work seems to be paying off, but now she's looking to play. And after testing the waters, she hooks herself a steady boyfriend in 25-year-old Tony Vincent.
Tony was a friend of a friend, and they started talking and kind of went from there.
He seemed very charming at first, and she fell in love pretty quickly. She loved the fact that he gave her butterflies in her stomach and was off to the dating races.
When we fall in love for the first time, it really does introduce a rush of emotions and feelings that has never been experienced before. And that's why it makes that first love so intoxicating, so intense.
But her dream romance quickly spirals into a nightmare when after only 2 months, Tony's seemingly warm heart turns dark.
All of a sudden, the relationship started getting abusive, physically and mentally, and then she broke it off.
After the relationship with Tony ended, Tiffany took a real hit to her self-esteem and just felt shattered and wanted to put the pieces of her life back together again.
To take her mind off Tony, the new single quickly refocuses on her job, but can't shake the lingering after effects. Though just a few years later, she finds out she has more serious issues to worry about.
Shortly after Tiffany turned 24, her mom and her went out shopping. And out of nowhere, Tiffany started to feel tingling and numbness in her arms.
Are you all right? Sit down, baby. Sit down.
Her mom noticed that her words started to be slurred and incoherent. She knew at that moment that something was dreadfully wrong, so Tiffany was rushed to the hospital.
Doctors tell her she's had a stroke, but can't figure out why. That is until a few weeks after being released, when she has 2 more. She's immediately scheduled for surgery to relieve pressure in the veins in her skull.
Tiffany's diagnosis ended up being something called moyamoya, which is a cerebrovascular condition which blocked arteries that go to your brain.
Moyamoya actually originated in Asia. Primarily, it strikes children, but it can also strike adults too. And because it is so rare, we don't know a lot about this particular disease.
The surgery's a success, but as she begins to recover, Tiffany is a shell of her former self.
Her personality really shifted. She was once a very outgoing person to not being shy, and she kind of wanted the acceptance of other people, particularly men.
Medical problems can be a huge blow to your psyche. It could set you back mentally, emotionally, physically, but also it can change the very fiber of your being, sometimes for the better, but oftentimes for the worse.
To prove her self-worth, Tiffany latches onto any man who shows her attention, which her mother knows is a recipe for disaster.
She decided to apply for guardianship over Tiffany because she saw where things were going. She wanted to protect her daughter as much as she could.
For the next several years, Tiffany lives under her mother's watchful eye in the apartment she rents a floor below.
The moyamoya had some cognitive effects on her learning, but Tiffany actually enrolled in a local college and was well on her way to getting her associate's degree.
At this point, she's 29 years old, and things just seem to be trending in the right direction.
Unfortunately, she's lonelier than ever and longs for a loving companion.
When our self-esteem is shattered, what we want is validation. What we want is acceptance. What we want to feel is attractive and feminine.
Human beings require companionship, and when they're hurt, well, that need is magnified. So having someone come into your life when you're in that emotional or physical state is exactly what the doctor ordered.
So while browsing the internet one day, Tiffany decides to check up on Floyd May, an old boyfriend whom she dated just a few weeks her junior year in high school.
Tiffany was on social media, and Floyd must have popped into her mind. She decided to do a little reconnaissance and found him and messaged him.
She's always had a special spot in her heart for the former flame, even though their courtship back then was unorthodox.
This wasn't your garden variety high school relationship.
He's actually 9 years older than her, and it liked the fact that she was a younger woman, but the relationship was cut short because he was arrested for an armed robbery.
Luckily for her, Floyd has served his time and promptly returns her note. And it doesn't take long for the pair to meet up and rekindle the feelings they shared more than a decade ago.
Tiffany knew Floyd was trouble, but she didn't seem to care.
And what happens next will blow everyone in the Windy City away.
Tiffany meeting up with Floyd was like opening up Pandora's box. She should have kept shut forever.
In Chicago, Illinois, Tiffany Jacobs reconnects with an ex-high school sweetheart, Floyd May. And given her recent diagnosis of a rare brain disorder, having a man in her life has finally made her feel whole again.
When we have self-esteem issues, sometimes all it really does take is a kind word, perhaps a nice gesture from someone of the opposite sex in order to make us feel better.
After meeting up for a few dates, Tiffany learns the now 33-year-old is on parole, living in a halfway house and working any odd jobs that come his way.
They got exclusive pretty quickly, even in the face of this knowledge, and they just rocked and rolled.
Would you like to move into my apartment with me?
In fact, Tiffany doesn't hesitate to ask Floyd to secretly move into her apartment, even though they've only been back together a few days.
Tiffany knew that her mom would disapprove of her not only getting involved with an ex-boyfriend, but getting involved with an ex-boyfriend with a criminal record.
And so they tried to keep things on the down low.
For the next 2 weeks, Tiffany and Floyd carry on their clandestine relationship, and Tiffany immediately regrets her decision.
Floyd became controlling pretty quickly.
Do what I say when I say it.
He wanted to tell Tiffany, and did tell Tiffany where to go, what to do. At all times, he wanted to be in control.
If Tiffany bucks his authority, Floyd doesn't hesitate to flex his muscles on his girlfriend or her family.
He started threatening her and her mother and telling them if they say anything, they'll have hell to pay.
You're unbelievable.
Feeling trapped, Tiffany believes she has no choice but to stay by Floyd's side, even when things take an ugly twist on a Wednesday evening in May.
At about 9:30 p.m., they were hanging out watching TV, and Floyd suggested they go get something to eat.
Tiffany agrees, and the pair sets out in Floyd's car for some burgers. But just a few blocks away from the eatery, Floyd changes tonight's order, saying he wants to do a job instead.
Try to do a job.
I thought you were done with that life.
Despite her misgivings, Tiffany reluctantly concedes.
Please, baby, I need you.
Floyd gives her a guilt trip and says all this nice stuff to her, and of course she knows is he's willing to participate in an armed robbery.
A person in a very dangerous situation normally should run away. But when we look at their self-esteem, that fear of going outside the comfort zone, then they tend to stay in that situation even though it is not a healthy one for them.
Minutes later, they arrive at the restaurant on West Irving Park Road, where Floyd tells his girlfriend to park in the back and keep the car running.
Before he departed, he grabbed a bag and he started to empty the contents. And what was in the bag was a hoodie, some sunglasses, some fake teeth, and a pistol. At that moment, she realized that this was probably his plan from the get-go.
Following his orders, she waits outside while Floyd enters the fast food joint.
I mean, Tiffany had to be scared to basically participate in a robbery, but at the same time, she wanted to stand by her man and do this for him.
Meanwhile, in the restaurant, Floyd approaches the register, keeping an eye on the only other patron, Martha Osborne, a no-nonsense Chicago native talking on her cell phone.
I just ate. A friend of mine had called me prior, and I was going to return the call.
But before the lifelong pals can exchange pleasantries, Martha realizes something is amiss.
Call the cops. I had stood up to stretch my legs, and I saw a man at the counter with a gun. And I told my friend, call the police.
Hey, you!
Unfortunately, Floyd hears Martha's plea for help and swiftly orders her to the counter.
Let's go!
He points the gun at me and told me to go up front. So I thought I better do what he says since he has a gun.
Floyd had forgot to put his sunglasses on, so as she was walking up, she got a very good look at his face. So at that point, when he realized what was happening, he told her to turn around and then put the pistol at her back.
And there's nobody at the counter.
Hey, you! Come here!
So the manager approached the counter, and Floyd held his gun up and pointed at him.
Oh, calm down, sir. Hurry up back there!
The manager swears he doesn't have the key, claiming it's sitting on a desk in the back room. But Floyd isn't in the mood for excuses.
He takes his hand and slams that register so hard that it went rocking. and he put the gun in my back. He said, if you don't give me the money, I'm gonna shoot her.
Meanwhile, outside, Floyd's woman is still on pins and needles.
Tiffany was in the car praying that her man would come back before somebody got hurt.
A person in a dangerous situation certainly should run away, but that need for love and acceptance is certainly a powerful motivator.
It's not your money. Just give it to him.
Hurry up! As the manager continues to stall, Floyd orders Martha back to her seat, demanding she retrieve her purse.
I went to the booth. I was carrying a tote bag with my wallet in it, brought up my wallet to him.
While Floyd pockets Martha's billfold, the manager retrieves the key and hands over whatever cash is in the drawer.
He collected $400 from the register and left the restaurant without anyone getting hurt.
With loot in hand, Floyd makes a beeline for the car Tiffany has waiting, but not before hitting a roadblock.
When Floyd leaves the restaurant, he bumps into a man, and Martha yells, "Hey, this guy just robbed the restaurant."
Unfortunately, the man can only get a quick peek as the car peels out of the parking lot.
But what he did see is that it was a black Lincoln with a very distinctive bumper sticker that had the number 5 on it.
With that information, Martha called the police.
Meanwhile, inside the getaway car, tensions are running high.
Tiffany is frightened, and Floyd is having her race around street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood.
They're now waiting at stop signs and driving through the city, trying to get away.
As Tiffany clutches the wheel, Floyd continues to bark directions. It's a side of her man she knows all too well.
I think she's also thinking, this is the reason I broke up with this guy in the first place, and he's back here doing it again. But this time I'm involved.
It's only human nature when you're in a very stressful situation to make the wrong decision, especially if you feel that you have no other choice.
Just run the light. Just run it.
Floyd had her making sporadic turns, left, right, and now they're being trailed by 4 police officers.
The chase goes for miles, stretching from the city's 16th district all the way to the 11th. That's where Floyd orders his girlfriend to pull into a gas station.
Turn left up here. Turn left up here.
And as soon as they pull into a gas station, appears a police car. And so Tiffany panics, at which point the officer fires 2 shots.
And later, in Spokane, Washington, young Jackie Wortham will go to the ends of the earth to emancipate herself from her parents in order to be with her one true love.
Jackie lost it all by hooking up with the wrong man.
But I never dreamt that this could happen.
Following her boyfriend's brazen robbery of a Chicago, Illinois fast food restaurant, Tiffany Jacobs speeds towards an armed officer who's trying desperately to end the dangerous chase.
Tiffany was shot once in the shoulder and once in the chest. She must have been terribly frightened.
Reeling from the barrage, Floyd escapes on foot, leaving his girlfriend high and dry.
She must have been devastated, heartbroken, and just confused. She's shot, she's left holding the bag, and he's gone.
Tiffany musters up the energy to make one last getaway attempt, but due to her injuries, can only make it to the parking lot of another gas station on an adjacent street. There, an armed officer pulls up behind her, and this time, she gets out of the car with her hands up.
They got her down to the ground, tasered her, and then handcuffed her.
Once in custody, Tiffany is charged with first-degree attempted murder, armed robbery with a firearm, aggravated fleeing, and aggravated assault to a government employee.
She was then transported to a local hospital for treatment of gunshot wounds.
The next day, detectives on the hunt for Floyd spot him walking calmly down Fifth Avenue, and he's immediately apprehended. He is charged with 2 counts of armed robbery, aggravated fleeing, and unlawful use of a weapon by a felon.
So Floyd brokered a plea deal for 3 counts of armed robbery, and he was sentenced to 25 years in prison, concurrently with a 15-year sentence.
Following suit, Tiffany pleads guilty to armed robbery and unlawful restraint.
She got a 12-year sentence. It's like kissing away your freedom. And I don't know why she would let him put her in that kind of position.
Behind bars, Tiffany feels great remorse for her reprehensible actions.
She also wrote a letter to the judge stating about her brain disease and about her strokes she's had and how she was physically unable to resist Floyd.
By having this relationship with Floyd, Tiffany threw it all away. She had a life that was just turning around for her, and rekindling with this old connection from the past really ended up burning her.
The way we feel about ourselves can certainly impact the way that we look at life. And if we're in a bad place, if the wrong person comes into our lives during that window, then it will inevitably lead to some sort of disaster, as we've seen in this particular situation.
Tiffany's dreams of finding love crashed and burned when her man stole more than just her heart. Next, Jackie Wortham finds out that following the lead of a bad boy can sever even the strongest family ties. The daughter of common-law Spokane, Washington spouses, once darling Jackie Wortham has hardened into the Queen of Sass, earning her a nickname amongst her loving family.
What do you mean dressed like this?
Is that how
Jackie was a sweetheart up until she was about 11 or 12, and she started getting this, like who I call Addie, Miss Attitude.
This is the way I dress. Do you have a problem with that?
Jackie was rambunctious. She was lively, outgoing. She was everything, but she was also kind of down. So sometimes you didn't know what you would get from Jackie.
Unfortunately, the girl's volatile behavior only deepens the wedge between her mom and dad, whose relationship is already on the rocks.
And your daughter, what?
Jackie's parents were high school sweethearts. They were together for a long period of time, but they had their arguments.
Where you going?
And Jackie's behavior took a toll on the family.
Seeing her folks at each other's throats sends the tween into an even deeper spiral, which only magnifies when they decide to call it quits.
When children grow up watching their parents fight, they take those memories and then act out some of those same behaviors, resulting in very damaged and dysfunctional relationships of their own.
Following the split, the pair remains civil and decides Jackie should live with her mom. That's when things go from bad to worse.
Things started to go downhill as she got into her teen years because Jackie didn't want to go by the rules that her mom set. She didn't want to do this, she didn't want to do that, she didn't want to have a curfew. She resented her mother.
Jackie ran free while she was living with her mom, so much so that it was a mutual decision that she moved to live with her dad, Danny Wortham.
Fortunately, the plumber loves his daughter more than life itself and is eager for the chance to set her on the straight and narrow.
Dan didn't make a lot of money, but he worked hard and he tried hard to provide for Jackie and himself.
He would take her to movies, he'd take her skating. He liked to do things with her, but she liked to do things alone.
Although Dad wants to give his coming-of-age daughter some freedom, her lack of maturity forces him to keep her on a tight leash.
So Terrence is having a party tonight. You want to go?
Yes, can I go?
Absolutely not.
She wasn't allowed to go off with her friends, and that made her angry too. She wanted to be free, free, free.
Dan wanted to bring structure into Jackie's life, and he was just ready to lay down the law, but also lay the world at her feet.
Little does Dan know his iron fist will push Jackie into another man's arms, setting off a deadly chain of events that no one in her broken family sees coming.
Despite the love that he had for his daughter, the feeling was far from mutual.
This is something happens in the movies, not that something really happens.
We're arguing in front of her.
Following her parents' breakup, defiant Jackie Wortham has been sent to live with her dad in Spokane, Washington.
When parents separated, the rules that they had in common as far as the household now change. And these separated parents each have their own set of boundaries. And in Jackie's case, was something that she used to her advantage.
But even with help from Jackie's grandmother, keeping the wild child at bay is a tall task.
What are you doing?
We'd get her in school, she'd go out the back door.
Put that out now.
We had her in counseling, and she never followed through.
She was the typical classic rebellious teen, smoking, drinking, brake slipping, lashing out.
The behavior destroys her father emotionally, as he wants nothing but the best for his daughter. Unfortunately, each attempt to set her straight falls on deaf ears, and Jackie continues playing by her own rules.
Jackie would stay away from home multiple nights a week, and Dan would not know where she was.
She started hanging around with people that are older than her. Teenagers that sit around smoking pot. They don't go to school, and Jackie was attracted to them. It was fun.
When it comes to teenage hormones, we're talking about explosions, all right? And so when you throw in something like a separation into that mix, well, you certainly are looking at a recipe for disaster.
The teen desperately wants to drop out of school and be emancipated from her father, so she can live life her own way. But Dan is having none of it.
He would file runaway reports when she would not come home.
He went and looked for her throughout the city. He made phone calls. Eventually, he would find her, and he'd bring her home, and the fights would just continue because she did not want to be there.
She said, "You've only got a year and a half. Just finish your education, and when you're 18, you'll be on your own." But I guess that didn't suffice.
Dan is at a loss as to how to handle Jackie's rebellious behavior and turns to friends and family for solace.
He cried on their shoulders. He was very emotional and he lent on them for support about his issues with Jackie.
Unfortunately, no amount of advice can stop Jackie from acting out. And the real trouble begins when another man enters her unsettled world.
Children quite often think that they know everything. They have this sense of invulnerability, but it's really because they really haven't seen the world and what it really is all about: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
While on one of her famous disappearing acts, Jackie crosses paths with Edmund Washington, an 18-year-old who knows the roads of Spokane like the back of his hand.
Edmund was a handsome guy. He had no criminal record, but he was in the streets all the time, and Jackie was attracted to that.
As the two bond, it's clear they have a lot in common other than physical appeal.
Edmund had been a runaway off and on for several years in his life prior to turning 18.
It's the life Jackie's dying to lead, and she quickly latches on.
They were pretty much inseparable. Wherever he was, she wanted to be. So when she ran away, she wasn't just going out doing random things. She was going to be with Edmund.
And what better way to push Dad's buttons than to tell him she's having her booze baby?
She played that ploy a couple of times, but it didn't fly. "I'm pregnant, feel sorry for me," because she was always the little drama queen.
Jackie thought that her father would be very upset about her being pregnant.
Though instead of being angry, Dan offers his love and support, as he's done her entire life.
It's your decision, Jackie, dude. I support you.
He says, "If you want to keep this baby, we keep this baby, and no one will ever take him away from you. But if you don't want this baby, and you really want an abortion, I will back that too."
Faking a pregnancy is very serious, and what I tend to see, my opinion is that people who do that, it certainly is a cry for help. It certainly is an overblown bid to get attention.
No. Irate that she's lost the upper hand, Jackie storms out of the house and out of her father's life, threatening to run away with her true love once and for all. Only this time, the road to liberation leads straight to a dead end.
Dan had no idea what he was in for.
He was just a pawn in a queen's chess game.
In Spokane, Washington, 16-year-old Jackie Wortham has found the ultimate way to free herself from her dad's control. She plans to disappear for good with her boyfriend, Edmund Washington, a man she'd do anything to keep.
Desperate people do very desperate things sometimes, and if there's someone there who's cheering them on, then the chances of doing something really wrong increases exponentially.
After just 2 months of dating, the couple decides to pack their belongings, and when a friend lends them a vehicle, they hit the highway.
They have no destination in mind, but they're swindling gas money, whatever they can to make this trip happen.
Although it's not unusual for Jackie to be gone for days on end, this time her father is worried, given the severity of their most recent spat.
And Dan, once again, filed a police report. He doesn't know what to do but to keep looking and to just remain prayerful and hope that she comes back home.
She ran away again and again and again. Well, now it was full blown. Danny was at his wit's end.
Nearly 2 weeks pass with no sign of his daughter, so he decides to take a drastic measure.
Jackie's dad had filled out a youth at-risk petition. In Washington State, if you have a youth who is out of control and you can't get under control, there are certain things you can ask the court to court order your child to participate in, to include counseling, drug testing, curfews, and so on.
When Dan texts his daughter about the pending legal action, it sparks her to return home. And when she walks through the door later that day, her entire family is waiting with a final, desperate plea.
They had an intervention with Jackie,
We're all here because we love
talking
you.
about how they were affecting their lives and how she was damaging her own life and the issues it was going to present.
We couldn't let her get away with just anything. And that's where Jackie snapped.
I can't believe you are all doing this to me. I'm not doing anything wrong.
The teen is furious that she's being bombarded and refuses help. She orders everyone out while she catches her breath.
She was very angry, so much so that it was a mutual decision that Jackie would stay with the grandma and grandpa overnight and then come back to Dan's house the next day.
And when she wakes up the next morning, it appears her personal storm has blown over.
She was just perfectly amiable, really nice and sweet. And then she called her father, and she says that he's going to come get her at lunchtime. And I said, why? And she said, because I'm going to go back to the house.
Laureen isn't sure leaving Jackie home alone is a good idea, given her penchant for running away. But she's not one to second-guess her son's parenting skills.
I felt that strongly about it. Danny's her father, and I never went against him. He's her daddy, he's a good one. So if he thought she could be trusted, so be it.
On his lunch break, Dan arrives to pick his daughter up and they drive home, exchanging only a few apathetic words.
The plan was for her to be brought to Dan's house, and then he would come home from work and he and Jackie could talk some more.
After getting her settled in, Dan heads back to the job, confident they'll work it out. He has no idea that Jackie won't be alone when he returns, and she's hatching a plan to emancipate herself once and for all.
I thought that she was just running away again. I never dreamed that this could happen.
While Dan finishes his hours on call, Jackie sits on the couch, plotting her final exit strategy.
I think Jackie knew that her father was never going to stop his crusade of trying to save his baby girl. And she probably felt that the only way that she could live her life the way that she wanted was for her dad not to be in the picture anymore.
It's around 3 o'clock when Jackie phones her boyfriend and tells him to come to the house. As the two talk, Edmund agrees that Dan is the only thing standing in the way of their happiness and something drastic has to be done.
I think he was her cheerleader in the worst way. He got out from behind his parents, and he wanted the same for Jackie. And I think that he encouraged her to live the life that she wanted to live by any means necessary.
They finalized their plans where Edmund would hide when Dan returned home and what Jackie would be doing to distract him so his back would be to where Edmund came out of hiding to attack him.
When it comes to love, our sense of right or wrong can become blurred or jaded, and it becomes especially dangerous when we have anger issues.
To prepare for the ambush, evidence shows the pair rummages through the house and finds several items with which to arm themselves.
They find a sword, Jackie's knife that Dan gave her for protection. They got a baseball bat, tools to really get at someone.
4 hours later, Dan pulls into the driveway with a peace offering, hoping it will butter up his daughter.
He was going to pick up a pizza for him and Jackie and bring it home to his little girl.
You in here?
Hi, Daddy.
According to police, that's when Edmund pops out from the hallway and their plan is put into motion.
Edmund.
It ends tonight.
Fuming, Dan gives Edmund a shove. That's when he reveals the knife he'd been hiding and lunges at the dutiful dad.
Edmund slashes Dan twice in the face and stabs him in the neck.
Dan immediately went down, and Edmund stabbed him multiple times in the legs and pelvis area with that knife, disabling his legs.
My legs! Stop, please!
Just then, Out of the corner of his wounded eye, Dan notices his daughter enter the fray and raise a baseball bat over her head. Is she going to save him from Edmund's vicious assault or put the nail in his coffin?
At that point, Dan could only pray that good would triumph over evil.
Jackie! Help me!
Dan Wortham fights for his life after being viciously ambushed by his daughter and her boyfriend in his Spokane, Washington home. His only hope is that Jackie will step in to save him.
As Edmund and Dan struggled, Jackie came at them with the bat. She hits her dad on his back. Edmund then jumps in with the sword and he starts slashing him.
In my opinion, Jackie liked seeing her dad suffer. It was like retribution, or I'm enjoying this now.
In my opinion, when it comes to attacking your own father, the person who gave you life, it takes a certain kind of detachment and it may be some sort of a personality disorder to do something so monstrous.
Within minutes, Dan's body goes limp, and the couple moves on to phase 2 of their plan.
Jackie and Edmund disturb the house, throw things around, make it look like there was burglary or a giant fight inside the house.
After staging the scene, they add the ultimate insult to injury.
They kill her father. He's laying there, and they go enjoy the pizza that he brought in as he lay dead on the floor.
When they finish, Edmund turns to Jackie and tells her they need to get out of the house.
Jackie and Edmund pack a suitcase with a bunch of Jackie's belongings. They take Dan's car keys and leave.
The pair quickly exits through the backyard and heads toward a vacant house where local outcasts have been known to hang out.
It's right above Spokane, and it was a known drug house.
2 days later, on Easter Sunday, Dan's mom and stepfather are worried sick.
I was terrified. I kept telling my husband, there's something wrong, there's something wrong.
Dan's parents were looking to hear some type of update from his talk with Jackie that went on that Friday night.
I was very, very upset. That's not like my son. We're very tight. When I call him, he answers.
Fearing the worst, they decide to make the 10-mile trek over to his place.
They noticed that his 2 vehicles were outside of the home. So they went, knocked on the door, but no one was answering.
It was pure panic. And that's when I called the police.
Within minutes, responders from the Spokane Police Department arrive on the scene. They too receive no answer when they bang on the door.
Mr. Wortham, police.
Patrol officers found the house locked up and secured. They forced entry to the house and were searching the house when they found blood.
And as they slowly make their way through the home, they find the source.
They saw blood splatter on the wall, lots of blood that collected on Dan, his lower part of his body. The scene was not pretty.
My impression was that the overkill on Dan made me very concerned that Jackie was involved in what happened.
I just broke. I snapped. And I went into more pain than I've ever felt in my life. I felt as if I was dying too.
In a desperate pursuit for answers, police fan out and question neighbors in the surrounding area. That's when they get their first lead.
A friend gave them a tip that she could possibly be in the vacant home that's in the area and they should try to look there.
They went there, and there she was, sitting there with Edmund in a bed, leaning up against the wall, Indian style, shoes on, everything.
And I looked down and I could see blood on Jackie's shoes and on Edmund's shoes. At that point, Jackie started whispering to me that she wanted to talk to me and tell me what happened. And so we transported them to the detective's office where we could interview them.
Back at the station, the pair is questioned separately, and Jackie is more than willing to talk.
Jackie changed her story multiple times.
I'm pregnant.
At one point, Jackie told us that she was pregnant with Edmund's child and that her dad was going to force her to get an abortion. And she did not want to do that, and she wanted Edmund's help to save her child's life.
But when they present her with the mountain of evidence recovered from the crime scene, the teen quickly caves.
She showed no remorse, and she just confessed to her and Edmund cooking up a plan to kill Dan.
Remorse is where you have some sort of guilt or you feel badly or sorry for something that you've done which was shameful. But the interesting thing is that if you don't believe what you did was wrong, then it's almost impossible to feel that remorse.
For their crimes, 18-year-old Edmund is charged with first-degree murder. And despite being only 16, Jackie is charged as an adult with the same.
Jackie and Edmund put a lot of thought into how they were going to kill Dan, laying out their weapons and distracting him. But they didn't put hardly any thought, if any, into how they were not going to get caught for it.
I mean, I've forgiven everybody all my life for everything they've ever done to me. I say, yeah, no problem. Not this one. And I don't forgive her.
After 2 years of legal holdups, Jackie eventually pleads guilty to the charge and is sentenced to 22 years in prison. Her boyfriend promptly follows suit and is given the same sentence.
Toward the end, Edmund began to grasp the reality of what had happened and what was going to happen. I think he was more concerned about what he had done to his life than what happened to Dan.
Jackie has apologized for her heinous actions, though some continue to question her genuineness.
She's shed a few tears, but people are skeptical of whether the tears are real or if they're just for show.
Devastated my entire family. It was like tsunami, just slow. We have fought to come back, all of us. But there's an emptiness that's inside me that I can almost not bear.
Jackie lost her life and her future when she killed her father and brought Edmund into her life. She lost a loving dad, and she's going to sit in prison until she's almost 40.
दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे वीरा कोलू वीर नखेड़े वीरा कोलू वीर तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय मावा तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुख दे सजना सारे संगी सुख दे सजना सारे संगी नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी हाय कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओह कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हंसना रोना गम लाचारी हंसना रोना गम लाचारी आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी हाय कंजरी दी मिसाल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा बे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओह कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी पुत वे तुड़ा नी मिट्टी दा वीरा पुत तुड़ा नी मिट्टी दा वीरा अपना आप संभाल बशीरा अपना आप संभाल बशीरा हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत बहुत धमाल दुनिया 2 दिन दी